Well, Sunday is Flag Day, a day to honor the adoption of the American flag. And today we are joined by Hart with the Greensboro History Museum to talk about Flag Day and what Flag Day is and why do we even celebrate it?
Yep. Well, thank you. Flag Day this Sunday. It will be exactly 249 years since the Second Continental Congress passed the first flag, um, choosing a design and made it official that Flag Day would begin. And over the years, every few decades, June 14th would be recognized by presidents or people in the community until finally in 1949, President Truman officially signed the Act of Congress that permanently designated June 14th as National Flag Day.
And of course, everybody should be displaying their flags out and that kind of thing for Sunday. So I imagine we're going to be seeing a lot of that over the weekend. The American flag really evolved over time.
Yes, it had 27 changes over the years. Most of those changes were adding stars for every time there was a new state, but it actually is in its longest state since 1950 of looking the way we now have, with 50 states and the 13 stripes representing the earliest the Union.
I know there's a lot of different places where you can go see like the iterations of the flag. Triad Park has all of the flags and all of their evolving and stuff like that. Greensboro History Museum, you guys have a collection of flags as well.
We have quite a few flags, usually connected with a person or a story or a community. Kirkwood neighborhood, for example, had a giant flag that we now have in our collection. Sometimes flags were used as markers, sometimes in very sad circumstances. One of the meaningful flags we have currently on display is in our service and sacrifice area. And there's a flag that was on the coffin of a Vietnam veteran, Bruce Westmoreland. So flags can have all sorts of meanings, from celebratory community days to being mindful of the sacrifices that many people have made for our country.
Well, with that in mind, you have a historic cemetery behind the museum. When can people visit that, and why is that tour like an interesting thing for people to see?
We have a wonderful cemetery because our museum, part of the museum anyway, was originally the First Presbyterian Church. So right next to the church was a graveyard. So that cemetery dates back to the 1830s church. There are Revolutionary War soldiers buried there, and again, prominent people from the community over time. Generally, on the weekend, there's some hours to visit. Fridays, we've added hours. And then annually, we have sometimes where we do special tours like Unliving History around Halloween.
Oh, yeah, of course, right. Yeah, that fits for sure. All right, so Greensboro History Museum is intertwined with all kinds of different events and things. Your 6th annual Juneteenth bike tour is next weekend. What can people know about that?
Sure, in celebration of Juneteenth, the start of civic season, we have a bike tour. Even if you don't have a bike, you can sign up online, and we'll be touring downtown Black businesses, from beauty shops to banks. And in the afternoon, we have living history. We're having different people portraying in costume, people from the past, dealing a little heavy towards the American Revolution, but dealing with civics and local. We have a lot coming up in celebration of America's 250th. The week of July 8th, we have a community read at 6 p.m., which will be the exact 250 years ago that the Declaration of Independence was read. And we have a community portrait again, and a flashback on the 11th to the 1770s and the 1970s, battlegrounds to bicentennial. So a lot going on.
That's a lot of fun stuff. I mean, every time you go there, there's something different to see. Of course, there's a WFMY News 2 part in there in the History Museum. I loved it one time you guys had an exhibit with all these typewriters and how they evolved throughout the years. What is like maybe one of your strangest or favorite artifacts that you think people should see?
Well, we have quite a Dolly Madison collection, and we tell the story of how Dolly, in the War of 1812, when the British were coming to burn down the White House, saved red velvet drapes that probably were made into a dress that she wore. So we have that sort of an interesting story, but we have all sorts of things. Right now we have a lot of sports things out dealing with golf. The North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame is temporarily doing their installation here for their new class of 26. So there's a broad range of things that people can look at. Particularly in this 250th year, we have George Washington's golden spurs on display for a short time, as well as
Cool.
a letter written by Nathaniel Greene, General Greene, Greensboro named after, to General George Washington.
That's pretty cool. Okay, we'll have to go down there and look at that. Thank you so much for your time and your expertise, letting us know what's available. And you know what? It's going to be a great place to cool off this hot summer. Isn't that right, Tim?